Stephen, the work that you and your colleagues at the Fuller Youth Institute have done, and which resulted in your recent work, Growing Young, you looked at congregations in a world where a lot of folks are finding church unattractive, but you looked for the churches where kids or young people loved to go to church. And I know you shared with us that there seemed to be 6 attributes that characterized or were kind of commonly found in churches
Yes.
that resonated with young people. What were the 6, and can you give us a little more detail about at least one of them?
Yeah, great question. And I want to make sure I get them right, so I actually wrote them down for us. One is this idea of unlocking keychain leadership. How do we trust young people with small but significant leadership roles? How do we share and give them opportunity to really use their gifts in the church? And are we open to that? So that was one of them. Empathizing with today's young people, really understanding where they're at, knowing them, seeing them. Taking Jesus' message seriously. It was very interesting that young people said, I'm more interested in Jesus than just talking about Christianity in general, that there was something tactile and real about Jesus that was really important to these young people. Fueling a warm community, we talked a little bit about that and the importance of that. Prioritizing young people everywhere, so this idea of priority, and then being the best neighbors. So there was this outward sort of focus as well. And so what's interesting is another one of the 6 we found really interesting was this idea of prioritizing young people. You know, in most churches, if you were to say, well, do you care about young people? I mean, who's going to say no to that, right? I mean, everybody wants to care about young people. But we noticed in these churches that there was an inordinate priority, that there was significant shifts in the community with budget, with priorities of the church, to emphases that basically said and communicated to young people, you are sort of in the center of our priorities. You're not just something that's off on the side. And so I think there was something really significant about that. One church that we interviewed, it was a church of a couple hundred, and the adults were primarily Spanish-speaking, and the church was actually in Spanish. And the church members, as we interviewed them, told us that they were getting worried because the younger people in the church were not coming, and they were trying to figure out what to do. Well, these adults decided that what they were going to do was to learn English. And they slowly, over time, began to switch from Spanish to English in their services, not because there was anything wrong with Spanish, but because they wanted young people who were speaking English to feel included and part of their community. So this community literally changed their language for young people. That's a major shift. That's not saying we're just going to include you in our cool church things here, young people. It's the church saying we are willing to actually change course to accommodate for you because you mean that much to us. And whatever it takes to do that, we're going to try to do that. And so there were just a lot of inspiring stories like that of churches really saying, no, you really are a priority. That's not lip service. And this is how we're showing it to you.